Hey guys, it's DC and welcome to the Soap Sanctuary where all soap lovers are welcome, guys. Happy New Year, guys. It's officially 2024. We are in a new year, guys. I got my notes right here. This is my character analysis video of Dorian Lord from One Life to Live, which was requested to me by a subscriber, the Cousins4141. Requested this video, guys. But anyways, guys, let's just dive right into this analysis. So, as we all know, Viki is the heart of One Life to Live and Landy, right? Now, I did always say that for Todd, Star represented his innocence, Blair was his heart, and Viki represented his conscience, right? So, this is something brilliant that I believe that One Life to Live did. They had their heroine, Viki, do the most heinous things during her time in Landview, while still being beloved and almost without any stain to her character or history, which is not easily done on soaps. Now, the only other time I've seen this successfully done is with Marlena Evans on Days of Our Lives. Because every time Marlena did something, she was either possessed or being hypnotized, right? Either the devil made her do it or she was under hypnosis. Now, this worked for Viki due to her D.I.D. So in a way, she was given like a pass by all of Landview, right? Once for killing Victor Lord, then Johnny Hesser, then Ben Davidson. All three times as Nikki Smith. Well, if we want to be technical, Victor was still alive when he was revealed to be back from the dead back in 2001. And technically, Antonio Vega shot and killed Ben Davidson. So it's really only Johnny Hesser for what we know at the moment, right? So, okay, I'll give her that. I'll give her that. But I do believe she contributed to all of them one way or another, right? Now, in real life, D.I.D, dissociative identity disorder, is not as animated where the alters take on a completely different persona from the host and a whole different background. However, when the writers developed the storyline for Viki, they realized, especially this is around the time of the 90s, that each alter had to have something distinguish them from the next. So this is what we know when it was Viki, Nikki, or Jean, Tori, Tommy, or Princess, or whoever, right? Now the alters all represented parts of Viki's subconscious. And at the end of the day, they were all Viki. This is similar to when Jessica became Tess, right? So in a later episode in 2008, it was revealed to Jessica in a session that Tess can only take on the feelings and the attitudes that Jessica feels. So with Jessica, it was widely known that Tess hated Natalie. However, with that revelation intact, it became clear that if Tess hated Natalie, that meant Jessica hated Natalie. And so the sisters, you know, they had a rough patch in their relationship during that time for a little bit of time, right? Now, we can't forget Viki's infamous long-standing feud with Dorian Lord, right? Dorian always reminded Viki of her past sins, right? And in fact, she was one of the few people in Landview who did this. And how could she not? Because for years, Viki believed Dorian was responsible for Victor's death until she came to the truth that it was actually her.
Obsession with him for the rest of your life. No wonder you've always hated me. No wonder you've hated anyone who came between you and your precious daddy. Nothing. Do you hear me? Nothing can change the truth. I want you to stop. Your father did to you the worst thing that a parent can possibly do to a child. No! You don't know! You don't know! Oh, but I do know. I know, and I have kept this secret for years. Even on the witness stand when I was fighting for my life, I said nothing. Viki, this is payback time. You owe me. Let me go. Let me go.
Because as people, we never usually want to look at ourselves, right? For most of us, as I always say, we are the hero in our story and never the villain, right? This applies to conflicts, relationships, breakups, etc., however you want to put it. This is because our psyche, our brain, or whatever other parts of ourselves you want to find are meant to protect us. That's a key word here, protection, right? Even our body and our skin will pull together all its internal resources to naturally repair itself. So therefore, most of us, we will pull together whatever narrative needed to protect ourselves. And we don't need an alternate personality to do that. So think of it in a way as like, if you're going on a date with someone and they're telling you all the things that all their exes have done, how all their exes were the problem. I've said this in multiple videos. But the thing about it is, in all those relationships, they were the common denominator. And everybody can't be the problem. So if someone's always telling you how their exes or everybody else always the problem, 9 times out of 10, the real problem is in front of you. And you're actually speaking to the problem itself. That's what I always say, right? Because as people, we all create parts of ourselves that we feel we need to have so we can survive the worlds around us, whether it be relationship, work, or even just ourselves. And this is what Viki needed to have. She needed to create these altars, right? To be able to digest what has happened to her. Right? This goes into my next point here. This is why forgiveness is hard for a lot of people. Because it's not most times it's not usually the other person that we're having a tough time forgiving. For most of us, it's truly ourselves that we're having a tough time in the forgiveness process. We're having a tough time forgiving ourselves, right? We may be mad at ourselves for not speaking out, not challenging certain things, or maybe not being supposedly smart enough to see the truth in certain situations, right? So when we're mad at somebody for doing something to us, sometimes at the core of that unforgiveness is us being mad at ourselves, right? For the question is like, how could I allow someone to do that to me? And when someone's doing something to you, that question might be there. How could I allow someone to do that to me, right? And that's the thing in Viki's situation is that was probably something maybe that she was struggling with. But then again, she was a child. So there are exceptions to this case. It's not that she needs to acknowledge her part in it, but to acknowledge there's nothing she could have done. And she needs to forgive herself, right? We might think there's nothing to forgive, but she still needs to. Because she's holding herself accountable for something that she had no control over. What Victor Lord did to her, ultimately, right? And so this is the thing, too, is that we have to forgive ourselves. It means the first acknowledging the part we play in certain situations. Viki's situation is a little bit of an exception to the rule. But for other people, we can acknowledge, okay, like, maybe I should have made that certain financial decision, okay? And I forgive myself. So that's the best I knew at the time. And here's the thing, too. As most people, we will deflect and shift the blame onto someone else. It's easier for us to do that because when we acknowledge something that we feel within ourselves, we now have to do something about it, right? If it's somebody else, we always live by the older days that, hey, I can't control other people, but you can control yourself. So once there's a shift there, and it's like, it's on me, now I have to do something about it, right? And that might be tough for some people. That might be tough. This is because we don't have the stomach to blame ourselves as people. Most times we don't. Our mind is set to protect us, right? It will rationalize something else out there. We never want to see ourselves as the villain, right? And that was a hard thing for Viki to comprehend. I just killed my father. So we thought. We know he was alive in 2001, but bear with me. But during those years in the 90s, it's like, I killed my father. How could I fathom that? What does that say about me if I did that? If I killed him? And granted, she killed him in self-defense. What it actually could mean is, hey, I killed him because I had to protect myself. That's why it's always important to shift the narrative as people, right? That's very important, right? So here's the thing, like when we can forgive ourselves, it's easier to forgive others. This is why the relationship with the self will greatly determine the relationships that we have with others. Think about that. Now, however, it wasn't all hate with Viki. Deep down inside, Dorian admired Viki. Dorian was that bougie aunt who was ghetto fabulous. We all have a bougie aunt or uncle in our lives. You know who that person is in your life. You know who they are. And the thing is that Dorian took in all her nieces when they grew up, Blair and Kelly. There were moments where Dorian was there for Viki and her humanity. And it's probably because deep down inside, she knew the monster that Victor Lord was. She knew. And that's the thing, too, to keep in mind when it comes to Dorian. She could never co-sign what Victor did because her sisters, Melinda and Addie, went through those same things of a man taking advantage of them. That's why thus we were given the conception of Blair and Kelly Kramer, right? So Dorian knew that, right? Now, in the end, Viki ended up with Clint, right? However, real talk 101, I believe that Ben Davidson was her heart, figuratively and literally. I mean, she had a heart transplant when she was given Ben's heart. Because, I mean, when she went to heaven the second time, she met up with Ben. And not only that, she kept his last name pretty much till the end of the series. Yeah, there was Charlie Banks, but at the moment I have amnesia, so I don't remember Charlie Banks. I don't remember the man. Right? When Ben died, he died, and Viki became his widow. Now, I will say this. Sure, they put her with Clint. I do believe that at one point in time, Viki really did love Clint. But then again, she really did love him. Would there have been a Sloan Carpenter? Would she have had that affair? Right? But to me, her heart was with Ben, and you can't tell me nothing on that. I'm sorry, you cannot. Her heart was with Ben Davidson, right? And it's funny how his heart saved her in the end. Sometimes I like to think of Ben Davidson as like a second coming of Joe Riley, which, funny enough, he was also who she met on her first go round to heaven. The father of her two sons, Joey and Kevin. Now, Agnes Nixon had big plans for One Life to Live. She mentioned how she was tired of typical white protagonists on soaps, and she wanted something different. She wanted diversity. But it was the 1960s, okay? And sis knew she still needed to be able to sell the show. Now, in came in Viki Lord, right? A white protagonist was female and a higher up at a newspaper company, which is very popular at the time. Now, we do know, for some of you guys who may or not be aware, One Life to Live was originally conceptualized to be titled Between Heaven and Hell. But due to the controversy of the title, they shifted it, and thus was born One Life to Live, which I think is actually a better title in my opinion, right? Now, Viki connected with different periods with her different siblings, right? From the inception of the show, it was Tony, and then it was Meredith, and then down the line, it was Tina, right? Then soon after, we got the arrivals of both Todd and Victor, right? Who shared Irene as a mother along with Tina, right? And Irene was one of Viki's best friends. But in a way, I felt like Viki was a mother to her siblings more than a sister. But she usually was the best part of them. That's the crazy thing. She was the best part of them. The part of them that probably made them feel there was some intrinsic good in them, right? Because when even Tina first came to town, she used to call Viki Aunt Viki, right? But she didn't know that Viki was her sister. Irene had not revealed it when she first came to town. But Viki became very protective of Tina, you know? It was almost like a motherly role. And she really played that role for the majority of her siblings. She had that nurturing aspect to her, even back then, right? So this is why I feel like Viki was a very powerful character. It's almost like she was the mother for all of Lambview in a lot of ways. But anyways, guys, that's my character analysis of Victoria Lord from One Life to Live. A little bit short, probably didn't touch all aspects of it, but I think I did a good job touching a good majority of it. I will say that if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. And if you're also new to the channel and this resonated with you, if you guys would consider subscribing. And also comment your thoughts below, as I would love to read them, guys. I am out, guys. This has been Soap Sanctuary. I'm out. This has been Soap Sanctuary. Thanks for watching, everyone.